Bulavinaka, Namaste, good evening. You are on Fiji Village, Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. We start off with this journey, a special one, as in the next 5 weeks we talk to different people who are coming with their visions, with their objectives, with their goals, what they have for the people of Fiji, what they have for our country. We will get those people in the studios right here in the Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan studio right here in Suva. Talk to them about what they stand for. We will ask them some questions. They may be tough and they should be ready for it because it is about them being held accountable to ensure that they show to you that they can be the leaders of this country. Tonight we've got our first guest, and thank you, Varinava Tiko from the New Generation Party. A new party, he's the acting party leader. Mr. Tiko, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for the opportunity, Vijay.
Before we go on, we have our lineup of party leaders all set for this week. Tomorrow we have the Sodelpa leader, Viliamenga Voka, at 7 p.m. And on Thursday night, we have Unity Fiji leader, Savinatha Narumbe. So that's the lineup for this week. And next week, we have another set of leaders who will be coming in. And then following that, we will be matching up different leaders and some of their candidates on issues that matter to you. We will be taking calls. So if you have any specific questions, we've gathered a few already through the calls that have come in the course of this week after Mr. Tiko accepted the invitation. But you can still call us on 3314766. The other number is 7730766. You can also post your question up with the hashtag Fiji Village Straight Talk. And of course, nomination time is still underway. The first party to put their nomination in was the New Generation Party. No coincidence that we've got Mr. Tiko as the first guest too, so that's quite timely. Now, firstly, Mr. Tiko, for the benefit of the people watching and listening, can you please talk about your background and what you stand for in the public space at the moment?
Thank you. My full name is in the birth certificate. I believe it's important because that'll be the name printed on the ballot paper, I guess, is Varinava Tiko. I'm originally from Telebu North District. I was born in my mother's village in Nailanga, in Varata, Telebu. I'm a miracle at birth because my mother delivered me on her own. I wasn't born in a hospital, so I consider myself a miracle baby. And so blessed to be alive. I hail from the village of Navedavatu in Wainimbuka in the Telebu North District. I was the only one in the family raised by two very brilliant, soul-loving mother and father. I was brought up on a farm. After I was born, my dad had ventured into beef farming. So he leased the land, which was all bush in Telebu. And this is where I learned at a very early stage the merit of hard work. I remember running to fetch water from the streams, bathing in the river, living under Fijian mbure, waking up early in the morning and milking the cows, carrying fence poles, chasing cows, riding horses. All this experience from after I was born till after my dad passed away in 2004. So that was my life, full of hard work. Although they were civil servants, my dad was a forestry officer who worked in Vanuatu, and my mom was a nurse. They trained me to pay for my own school fees, to plant, to sell, to work hard. So that was the training that was instilled in me, and that carried me throughout life, and even through the difficult times I went through later in life. So the other important thing I was educated in the village is the Vanua. My father comes from a chiefly status, and as well as my mother. So at a very early stage, I was taught the politics in the Vanua. There is politics in Vanua, and there's, of course, politics in our government. But at a very early age, I was raised very well, and I'm so proud with all this learning at home. When I was in class 8 at Marist Brothers Primary School, which later became Marcelin, I was asked to be the permanent secretary's Mateni Vanua at a visit, at a function in front of many people. I had confidence to receive the Angona, to present the Siusevu, to receive the Tambua. This was a reflection of the upbringing, the great upbringing of a great family in the Yavusa Naloto, in the tribe of Naloto in Wainimbuka. And this to me is very important, and this is why I'm highlighting this, is because, you know, when we dissect the problems of life today, the problems we have, it all leads back to the family, to home, the teaching at home. And yes, educated in Fiji, raised in Fiji, and worked most of my life in Fiji, although I've traveled a bit around the world. Today I'm 52 years old.
Mr. Tiko, when you had announced that you will be setting up a new party, the New Generation Party, and then it was announced that you will be the acting party leader,
yes,
some questions were asked. Of course, Varinava Tiko is also known for something that happened in 2000 after the George Spade coup.
Yep.
There was an incident in Korovo. I clearly remember because we were covering all the incidents around the events of 2000. Where you led a hostage situation in Korovo town. People asked, this is the same Varinava Tiko, and what does he have to say about that? What do you have to say about that?
Thank you, Vijay. I was working as a civil servant at the time, as an extension officer for the Ministry of Agriculture, Extension Division in Korovo, when that happened. My father was a very staunch Itoke movement activist. Politics was part of discussion at home. He was always involved in the campaign since Alliance party time and SVT. He was a campaign manager for the candidate of the Telev North constituency. And because of his belief in the Vanua, in the governance system, and because he had worked in government and he believed in hard work, he had invested on the farm. He was always talking to the villagers about hard work, and he's a hardworking man, and he saw the potential in our Vanua, in our Itoke people, and I witnessed this when I was growing up with him. And when George Spade took over Parliament, he was part of the march into the city, the Toke movement march that went to present a letter to the president. And when that happened, some of them came back into the city, and he went on to witness the event in Parliament. And George Spade is my nephew. He's from Naloto. And then when he looked out and saw my dad, he said, great-grandpa, please, come in. So he let him in. And at that time, the commotion and everything was happening. Like I said, I'm the only one in the family, and Mom was at the farm. She did not get any phone call from Dad of his whereabouts, and then, a day has gone. And so she called me, and where's Dad? And somebody had to milk the cows because all the villagers have gone astray. So I had to leave work and go and milk the cows in the afternoon and in the morning. When on the second or third day, George Spade kind of needed people around him as a human shield. And so he sent my dad to Telebu to gather the people of Telebu. That's when I met him, and I confronted him. I asked him, what is happening? What you doing? What about Mom? And he said, I don't care, because he was so strong in the Vanua. I felt sorry for my mom, and I didn't want our business to collapse, the dairy. So I asked him, okay, why don't you go look after Mom? I'll do that for you. And that was how I was involved in 2000. I led my own people into Parliament to look after George Speight. When in Parliament, I never cared to take a weapon and, walk around with it. I went into George Speight's or the Prime Minister's office, Mandatory's office, and started reading documents in there. I read through Fiji Intelligence Service documents. If you remember, the FIS.
FIS, yeah.
Was
headed by Metusela Mua.
Yes, and it was disbanded by Chaudhry, and the Labour Party moved those documents into Parliament. And then he got the personal secretary, the son, to protect these documents. So I had the privilege to read through all these documents throughout that period. Until a certain time when I saw that the negotiations between George Speight and the commander, Frank Ben Marama, was not leading anywhere. And then the government at the time was still with Ratu Mara, the executive authority, the executive control. And then he sacked the parliamentarians. And there were attempts by the soldier to kill George Speight at one checkpoint. So things were getting kind of rough, and supporters were get beaten up around the Parliament complex. The soldiers would come running with their weapons, and the villagers would run towards them and grab the other end of the rifle. This was getting very dangerous.
Sad days for Fiji.
Yes, a very dark day. I witnessed all this. And I also witnessed the power of unity in the Itoke people at that time. Right? I came out and I saw the people that I took in a bit of concerned as to what was happening. And then because of the attempts by the military to kill George at a checkpoint and all this rivalry, I thought to myself that this must end. And they were boys that went from Parliament to Monasabu and mixed the soldiers' grog with some sleeping pills, and they fell off to sleep, and the guns were taken away from them. And then the people from Lambasa took over the military camp in Waterekuka. I then decided myself that I would make an attempt to end all this. It was becoming dangerous. The Itoke soldiers beating up Itoke supporters of that movement in Parliament.
And vice versa. There were things happening to innocent Fijians who had no role to play.
Criminals were taking advantage of all this.
Exactly. So what did you do?
So I led a team of 7. We walked out of Parliament, straight into Korvo. I organized the district, the Telenorth district, sent out my message to all the chiefly households in the district, and gathered the people early in the next morning. And before 24 hours, we held the soldiers hostage, took their weapons away forcefully from them. And then I called the commander and his officers and gave them an ultimatum and said, enough is enough. I gave the commander 24 hours and asked him to please stop brutalizing the people, end this with George Speight, come to the negotiation table and sign the Monikau Accord in 3 days. What could he do? His soldiers were held hostage. His camp in Lambasa was held hostage. His soldiers in Monasabu. And the military had no more control of the security of the nation. This is a time when I witnessed the power in unity of people, when they decide to do something. It is dangerous. It is very dangerous. And this is my concern today. And this is why all the time I speak on Facebook when there is some criminal activity, like the proposed police bill. There were some discussions, and I kept saying, don't go into law-breaking activities. It's dangerous. The solution is not in uprising. The solution is not in crime. And I believe this is where I have to bring this message in and to stand for the future generations, that they see that I can warn them of the dangers of the past in 87 and in 2000. And then in 2006, it is not the solution for Fiji.
So you don't want these things to be repeated?
No, it takes our economy back. I have friends in Televu who are hurt, families, and it's a shame. I get angry when I'm not a thug by nature. I'm a very mild person, but I made the decision at that time to end. I had a conviction, right, to end that.
And you paid the price for it? You
Of
went
course.
to prison for it?
Of course, just for 1 year in prison. I was sentenced for 2 years. But the price I paid was more than just prison. I was taken up by the military to the forest in Neta Syrian, where I got my ribs broken, my jaw broken. I was hospitalized. I was locked up in almost all the police station cells in Suva, tortured, tormented. I had to pay the price.
Now, 22 years later,
Yes.
what is your view on leaders to be held accountable all the time? Do you see that as being uncomfortable or an attack on you?
Well, the events of 1987. And
I'm talking about you personally.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you
Are they
have?
supposed
Your
to be held
view.
accountable?
Your view.
Yes. Like I said, these events have taught most Fijians that it is okay to solve our political problems that way. Right? The law is there. You break the law, you pay. Everyone has to be accountable to the law. Whether you commit treason. George Pate is still serving in prison, very quietly. Frank Bainimarama and Sitiveni Rambuka out there, hiding behind the immunity clause. One day they'll be judged. Well, they're going through judgment every day from Facebook users, accusing them. This won't end until they are served justice. No one can accuse me of the past because I have served justice. No one has the right to accuse me because I have stood before the court. I have been condemned.
So you stand for accountability.
Accountability, of course. Go to prison, serve your time.
Now, why form the New Generation Party?
The New Generation Party, there's a lot to talk about. I'll give you an example. When we look at the voters' figures, the voter turnout in 2014 was 84.6%. And in 2018, it fell to 72.5%. The voter survey after 2018 elections found that 21 to 30 years old constituted the highest percentage of registered voters. For voters under the age of 80 years, it was also the 21 to 30 age cluster that recorded the lowest voter turnout in 2018, which was 60.4%. The second lowest voter turnout was attributed to the 18 to 20 age cluster, which was at 62.8%. My question is, do the youths of today still have faith in these old leaders? If those figures are true, why are we seeing this low turnout in elections by the youths? Do they still have faith in these leaders? Because they see these leaders commit crime and don't serve justice. That is my question, Vijay. And then these leaders still hold the space in politics and not at least mentor the new upcoming politicians. They still want to be there. This is not good leadership. There is no succession. So for the young people, Fiji, a lot of Fijians have become very educated in politics, in business. And this is the platform for them. The new generation, after these old people have gone, we need to stand up now for our future. We need to be accountable for our future. These people will go soon. Right? And this is why we have to take hold of our future and raise our hands. A person like you, intelligent like you, look at your bigger purpose. There are people out there, they need to ask themselves, what is my purpose? To serve this nation. We need to unshackle these problems that we have in our society. The crime, the drugs. Who's going to do it for us? Who's going to do it for our children and our grandchildren? Not these old politicians and old leaders, because they worry about their retirement, maybe their pockets. I don't know. But the time is right for the new generation to stand.
Well, the facts are in the 2018 elections, 21 to 30 year age group, 148,436 people were registered to vote. Only 89,670 voted. That's according to the data on 14th November 2018. That's quite shocking.
Yeah.
That's the biggest chunk of voters who are registered in that age group, but the lowest voter turnout. And you've hit the nail on the head on why the young people are not coming out to vote. And that's a question everybody's asking. I have another question. We have 9 political parties in these year's elections. Many are saying this will split up the votes. Some parties will not reach the 5% threshold, and it would be close to about 30,000, 34,000 to be exact if we had 100% voter turnout, which I don't believe we will get to 100%, but at least close to that would be good. So let's work on about more than 30,000. A party needs more than 30,000 votes to be in parliament. Now, people are saying votes will be wasted if the party does not make the 5%. What are your thoughts on that?
Those are political statements. Those are their opinion. Our message, the New Generation Party message, if you give me 4 hours, I can explain it to you and I'll change your mind. And this is what's happening on the ground when we go to the community and we highlight the crisis that we are in Fiji. The economy, the impending crisis, the impending crisis on health, on climate control, on our women, on our youths. This goes back to some of the fundamentals in our manifesto, and it points to how this nation must be governed. We talk about principles. We talk about Itaukei participation in economic development. It's too easy to say a party is coming in to develop the economy. I remember in 2014 I formed a company called Nehemiah Corporation. And my vision at the time was to gather all the retired civil servants, the retired permanent secretaries, and get them to the company and then work with the resource owners to uplift their lives. Right? After the 2014 election, we give advice to the Sodelpa party because I was part of Sodelpa at that time. And then from the period from 2014 to 2018, Sodelpa was led by Siti Veneramuka. Now, Ngarase was still alive. Ngarase was the one that founded the SDL party and the Sodelpa. He was the same one that wrote the document. Let me show you this document on the 50-50 by 2020 development plan. Right? He had a vision for this nation. His vision was a multi-ethnic and multicultural society where the special place of indigenous Fijians and Rotumans as the host communities are recognized and accepted, and where their rights and interests are fully safeguarded and protected alongside those of other communities in the overall national development and the interests of maintaining peace, stability, unity, and progress in Fiji. This document is a very classic document. It's been put together by intelligent people, and Ngarase, after winning the elections in 2001, 2005, saw the need to embrace the Itaukei, the need to hold hands in a multi-ethnic, multicultural society and to build this nation together, using the resources that's with the Itaukei. Right? Because right now, Vijay, if we try to salvage the economy, the answer is with the Itaukei people because they hold the resources. The Constitution talks about empowering people to participate in economic development, Chapter 32 of the Constitution. Yet, the government goes and, ignores some of the very values of the Itaukei. Talking, consultation, to work together, to build the nation together. Ngarase brought this in, and then when they set the Sodelpa, Rambuka asked Ngarase if he could come up to my office with his team and if we could write up a master plan for the Itaukei to carry on with this document. It was a 20-year document. So in our plan, working together from 2014 to 2018, we drew up a master plan. And before the elections in 2018, this document was supposed to be a part of SODELPA's manifesto. And when this document was taken back to the party leader, he deliberately ignored the document. And it was a slap on the face for everybody in this, these are intelligent people. These are former leaders of the country. And that was a shame. And the loss of SODELPA in 2018, and then all the crisis within SODELPA, to reinvent the wheel, to rewrite these things is ridiculous. We need to look back at what some of our former leaders had intended for the nation. Leaders like Ratumara, who looked at developing our agriculture, our primary industries, our resources. Looking at Ngarase, although after 2000 he was put there by Frank Bainimarama to be his prime minister, he went ahead and registered the party Songo Songo, Dobat and Lene Vanua. He saw the potential in the Vanua, the people and the resource working together, everybody holding hands to uplift the nation. He brought in the Truth and Reconciliation Bill that was, campaigned against by Frank Bainimarama in 2005, hence the coup in 2006. Now, they have gone ahead with laws and policies that have not recognized the values of the Itauke. They've removed the GCC. They have just walked over the Vanua, as in the laws in the Bill 17 saga. Where do the Itauke stand now? The Itauke are the very people who can, like I said, salvage this nation. But we are not empowering them. They hold 90% of our native land. We want to save our country. It can't be saved by progressive loan all the time and giving people fish all the time. We need to really look at our ideology, our philosophy of building this nation up. What's wrong with developing the resource owners, giving them their market? I went up to Mbai, in your area, a young man, he owns 6 Land Cruisers from planting Yangona, but he was just selling to middlemen. What if there was a plan like what Militoni Leonigila did as Minister for Agriculture in 1996 when he implemented the Commodity Development Framework, where certain areas in Fiji were identified?
The questions raised about that Commodity Development Framework too, that there was some
abuse.
Beneficiaries that abused.
Yes. Who was it? It was a businessman.
Well, going back to the 5% threshold, do you believe you'll make it?
When our message is clear to the people, the Itauke are looking for answers. Right? If this message goes out to everyone, it needs a clean heart. We have learned from the past, from the coups of the past. We have learned from the current crime rate, our hospital situation and our health systems. It is time, Vijay, that all ethnicities, that people must come together, hold hands, especially the young. It's hard to teach an old plant, an old vine. But it's time, a question here, I'm challenging the new generation of people. This needs a change in their attitude, in how they see themselves in their future. And this is it.
We have the new generation acting party leader in studio tonight on Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan, and we'll be back after a short break. Welcome back to Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Tonight we've got our first guest who is the acting leader of the New Generation Party. Now, Varinava Tiko is in studio. Mr. Tiko, just in relation to the criteria of your candidates, I've noticed that you had a very clear guideline there that no one who was a member of the Great Council of Chiefs or is holding a traditional role will be selected as your candidate. Can you explain why?
Yes. Once upon a time, Ratsukuna wrote a book, The Three-Legged Stool. And this has been a belief by many leaders, political leaders, the Vanua leaders and church leaders, that the church, the Vanua and politics, they are the three legs of a stool that embraces the Vanua. And in his book, he also wrote that these three legs, after 50 years, will have to be separated. Now, the Vanua has got its own governance structure and system, just like our government. We had our own government before the whites came in here in the 1800s. In 1643, when our first sailor came in, we were governed by a system, a governance system. Now, when the colonizers came in, they brought in their governance system, their governance structure, which was hierarchical. Yeah? They had the king and so forth at the bottom. This was enforced to the Tauke people so that the people would be slotted into that structure. Now, there have been some struggles in the past by our chiefs, by the Vanua, when this new system came in, and how we could develop our country and still protect our rights as indigenous people, protect our values. And hence the creation of the GCC in 1876. And then we have that structure. We had the GCC determine who was the president of our country. We had the GCC nominating more seats in the upper house. So that was the fear. And that is why the Vanua, the chiefs at that time, who were nominated from the provincial level into the GCC, felt it their obligation to protect their people and were involved in the politics to watch over the change in laws. Now that we've come down the line, then after the 87 coup, I compare it to a story like, when the Queen came, the British came, they picked the Vanua up, the indigenous people, and they cradled the Vanua. Right? They created the GCC, the provincial council meetings, the district council meetings, and the villages meetings. They were being cradled like a baby because of the relationship that the Queen had with our leaders, like Ratumara and Ratu St. George Darbau. In 87, a picture that I would like to portray here is like a new government comes in, somebody comes in and just grabs the child off the woman's hand and just throws it on the back and takes over the government and removes us from the Commonwealth and then runs the government, right? Still carrying the Tauke on the back. Then this child started to grow and built up its strength and, learned about his voice and rights and the changes in our political system and the scenario. Until 2000, the child at the back, the Vanua, when Fiji Labour Party won, choked the government from the back. He was strong. But after the 1997 constitution, during the drafting, the Tauke people were shouting. We had more parties, the Vanua Takolavo Party, the Fijian Nationalist Party, the Tauke movement, the chief from Sambeto, the All Congress Nationals Party. There were so many parties. The Tauke people were trying to say something, put us down on our feet. Don't carry us. We are old enough to be, please put us on our own, put our feet down. But then that happened. And that was the time when the Vanua showed its power and held the government, choked the government. And that's what happened in 2000. Now, when Garza came in, he picked the Vanua up and tried to cradle it by bringing this development plan for the Itoke, the 20-year development plan. Right? What happens after that? Another military coup comes in, grabs that child, throws it on the back, and then we are going on now. Then 2013, 2006 or 2013 removes the head, the GCC, throws it down the mango plantation, right? And creates law to dismantle this body. And now this body has got the potential to, like I said, to salvage the nation because it has the land. But it hasn't been empowered all throughout the time. We had independence in 1970, but let me tell you, Vijay, the Itoke have not been independent. We have just been carried. Our legs have been hanging all throughout the time, till today.
That's your analysis, but you do not have, your criteria here is, you do not want any member of the GCC or those holding a traditional role to be selected in the party. Why?
Because the GCC of the past is now, like Banimarama says, is not relevant. That is true. Because it was created during a time where there were bloodshed, subjugation of highlanders in the Nabosa area. They were brought out from the provincial councils. Now, there is a need for a new head, which are chiefs who have been traditionally anointed. That's what. That's the real head of this body, this headless body. Now, our GCC of the past, they've been politicized, to answer your question, right? They have just used up government money. It has been on the back of the government, giving that extra load on government. It has been a burden to government. And now we're having all these loans. This guy at the back needs to stand down. Otherwise, if the government falls, we all fall together.
So basically, you don't want anyone holding a chiefly position to be in your party.
They need to go back to the Vanua and look after their Vanua.
Don't get involved in politics.
Don't get involved. Be impartial. Be neutral. Because in the Vanua, there are people who will be voting for different parties.
Next question. You have managed to only get 5 proposed candidates, including yourself.
Yes.
Does that mean you did not get as much attraction as you wanted?
When I started the party, I did my own assessment. I could say I'm looking at the balance of power. Right? When I looked to the Bible, David picked up only 5 stones and used only one to kill Goliath. It's not about the number for me. It's about the message. What if, Vijay, if the New Generation Party gathers more than 200,000 votes or 100,000 votes? What happens? But it is difficult to find strong people who can stand forward and stand for principles and stand for change and stand for the youths. They've lost hope, these young people. We've seen the data. They don't want to come and vote. We need young people to stand up for them.
You said you will review the Itoke governance structure as part of your document in your manifesto.
Yes.
Can you tell us, after the review, what will happen?
Yes.
Specifics.
Right. I've given you the picture already of that boy put down, head fitted, and then held on its hand, empowered until such a time it can walk on its own. Right? That needs to happen. You cannot just help the child at the back still hanging on the back. No. That child needs to... Then this is what Nikonowe Kul has always been happy about. The UNRIP, the ILO, the rights to self-determination. The rights are there. In the Constitution, it's there. But we are not empowering the people. And by empowering the people and putting back the proper head, fitting back the chiefs that have been anointed, will involve the governance structure, which means in the process of installing a chief, all Matangalis in a tribe will be involved. The person that will be serving the grog, the person who will be beating the lali for the meke, the person providing the security around the perimeter. There are 7 chiefly status in a Vanua governance system. Now, All Fijians fall into one of these 7. The problem today is many Tauke people don't know which chiefly status do they fall in. And this is the problem. Even in the village, in the Vanua, people don't know when to keep quiet. People talk over the chief. And there's confusion in the village because democracy has come, which is something new to the Tauke. And it's trying to enforce the democratic right of individuals and then now challenging the Vanua structure that is in there because you have a chiefly status. This is the confusion in the Vanua. So we need to review all that. We need to make it clear whether we move forward with democracy or keep these values and fix these values. Do we still have hope in these Vanua values? Do we still have faith in our Vanua, in our culture? Do we have faith in that? What are we showing the world? Who are we as Fijian people? Who are we as a Tauke people? Where are our values? Where are our culture? You know, the result of this confusion has led to all this, the crime, the urban, the rural to urban drift, the confusion. It's a great confusion amongst the Tauke people. And this is why I always talk about the unity first with the Tauke people. This to be fixed first before we can unite other races. Because it's only the Tauke people, we are the ones who are causing the problems. We are the ones who are confused.
Some watching and listening to you may be thinking, Mr. Varinava Tiko is just talking about the Itoke. Fiji is more than just the Itoke. When there's other races who live in Fiji.
Of course. Once the Tauke people are fixed, once they're happy, once they're being empowered, then they can work hard. Then we can send our kids begging in the streets to go to their land and work hard because they can earn from there. So we clean up our streets.
So you believe you can bring in a structure that will give the Itoke more freedom to do better things?
Of course, yes. And this is what the very thing that we discussed in that master plan, a follow-up of Garase's development plan.
Now, what will you do to get in the Accountability and Transparency Commission? It's in the Constitution.
Yes.
It's been there since 2013.
Yes.
You've highlighted it in your manifesto. Why do you believe it is necessary to have that? It's long overdue, no doubt about that.
I know, right? I know you got the answer. And, you know, even for me personally, when this government talks about figures, it is hard for me to trust because, you know, they have not implemented the Accountability and Transparency Commission. In governance, it's important to be transparent. You're using taxpayers' money. You're accountable to the people. You need to show the people very clearly, you know, where is the code of conduct bill? What is happening? There is no transparency. What about FNPF? There's no representative in our FNPF. The employees, the workers' representative. All this, it's been controlled by a minority group, an elite, a group of people who can just stand up and go and borrow money. And who knows how it's been used? There's no consultation. There's no approval by the people. That is why it is important. And this government needs to follow its own laws. Unfortunately, it's not doing that.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the acting leader of the New Generation Party, Varinava Tiko. Mr. Tiko, you've talked about education. I want to go back to education. What are the specific areas that you believe need to be reviewed and what needs to be done?
Right. One idea I have, I'm not promising, Vijay, I'll pose it as a question. You know, when you come from Saweni, the Arya Samaj school, on one side of the road there's the primary school, the other side there's the secondary and the University of Fiji. Like I said, the Tauke people can salvage this nation. Now, we need to invest in that. We need to invest in the values. If it was up to me, or if I raise the question, what if there was a school to raise a resource owner children on how to manage their resource and how they contribute to this economy? You know, we need to review the whole education system. Is there a market for what we are studying? Why can't we give freedom to the different schools to decide on the education system. Like Maris Brothers would have their brother schools overseas, or the Seventh-day Adventist schools. If they have a market, well, they need to align themselves with the studies. Why not give them that freedom? Because there's a market, and then let the parents decide where they send their school. Because at the end of the day, we want these kids to find a job. Now, this whole review is needed. We need to really thoroughly look at all this. The technical schools, yeah, so that we can promote these markets and just align ourselves to these markets.
What about the curriculum? There's a lot of talk by parents that the curriculum is outdated.
Of course, I agree. I fully agree. When I was in Form 4, I was studying the geography of Australia and New Zealand. I never really looked into our geography and the resources and the potential in there. Maybe that's why our kids are lost. They are blind to our country until you go overseas, and then you look back and then you realize the potential that we have in Fiji. We cannot see it. We rubbish our environment. We don't appreciate what we have.
Mental health is a big issue. A lot of young people, a lot of families affected by things like COVID-19.
Of course.
Those were the dark days as well, as far as the pandemic was concerned for our country. Borders closed, a lot of families affected by that. And
Yes.
then putting food on the table, a lot of people affected by that. Extreme poverty, or a lot more people living on or below the poverty line.
Yes.
What will you do for those who are struggling in that way and have serious issues as far as mental health is concerned?
You know, there are a lot of issues on mental health. We can talk about PTSD. You know, people that have taken part in the coups, they could be carrying PTSD problems. Our military, our private security is there as service. This contributes to problems at home. Our narcissistic behavior in our families, this is a serious problem with women and children. This needs to be looked at, and that's why we need to. All these things are all interlinked, are all related. We look at our system. We first identify what is the problem in this nation. How do we address it? Where do we address it? And we address it correctly. Eh? And mental health is a serious problem, Vijay. You know, after the COVID, people have been devastated. People have lost income, lost jobs. What can be the solution? You know, what if we had food security, a framework in place where we didn't really need to import or allow people to come in? And if there's another serious pandemic that will follow, you know, we need to be able to shut our borders and, you know, protect us. And at the same time, be able to feed our communities.
You are the New Generation Party. What is your definition of the new generation, and what is your plan for the young people in the first 100 days in office? Say you held the balance of power and went in with another party. The immediate things.
Right. Like we've discussed, with the absence of the Accountability and Transparency Commission, any government that goes in will not be able to make a sudden 180 degrees turn. The Fiji First Party have done some good things. All we need to do now is to go in and review. Like any other business owner, there is a time where you review your performance over the year, and then you calculate, you re-strategize moving forward. First the review, and from there, then we can lay our, development plan. But as for the youths, generations come and generations go. We look around us. There's a bigger number of voters in the youths. So they need to vote. They need to decide on their future. first. If they don't vote, if they don't exercise their right to put their government in place, then I don't know what the future will hold. This is a great problem. But here, with New Generation Party, here is a platform for the youths.
Health is a big issue. You have spoken about building a tertiary hospital.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate on that and issues relating to health? How will you tackle that?
Well, I declare my interest that I am its Director of Operations, Prime Health. A lot of work has been done in the past. Since Ratumara's time, there have been support letters from the Prime Minister, Laisin Engarase, during his time. Even the Prime Minister, Frank Bainimarama, had given a support letter in 2007. But this government had its own negotiations with Aspen. And for somehow, this has been the hurdle that we have right now. Now, the company have spent a lot of money, purchased the golf course in Lotoka, spent 10 millions in bringing in the operators from Europe, and the doctors are ready. These are Fijian doctors that want to come back and give back to their community. This is another thing that we need to look at, our Fijians that have left. Let them come back. Now, our health system, it's clear. It's not supposed to be a competitive issue in the hospital sector. We are not supposed to be competing. The more hospitals we have in Fiji, the better for Fiji, right? But depending on the financing, yes, this project is ready because it's been envisioned as the hospital for the South Pacific. So
do you have the approval? Do you have the approval for it?
Like I said, no, this is what's left.
Yeah.
Because before people invest, they want to know that they will not be stopped midway.
You've got a personal interest in it?
I stand for the people. I have seen the problem. I want to help. I throw myself in where I can help. Right? I throw myself in.
Definitely there needs to be tender processes, as you said, accountability and transparency.
Of course.
To ensure, I know you that you've declared your interest as part of Prime Health.
Yes.
So along the way, if you do get the chance, you'll continue to say, it shouldn't be that someone has a personal interest and is only pushing that agenda.
Yeah. No, it's for the good of the nation. I mean, I met these two Indian doctors accidentally, Dr. Karam, and when I heard him talk about hospital system and the health system, it really hurt me. Someone who's got everything in his life and wants to give back to the community. To me, the first thing that came to my mind, this guy is going to heaven, and I better ask myself, I could be going to church, and these are some of the people who are genuinely trying to help our people. They're not only talking, they've thrown in their money. Like I said, it was since Rotumara's time. His lab was burnt down during 87. Yet he still cares for the people. There are people like that. People that grew up in Fiji. This is their home. Whether they're Indo-Fijians or Chinese, this is our home. And we want to give back to our people.
Interesting. We'd like to see if that project goes ahead and what will happen with that. What is your plan on the trade and use of illicit drugs in Fiji? Like things like marijuana, methamphetamine, cocaine, etc. You've touched on that there's been a lot of people involved in this.
Yeah.
What is the party looking at as far as that is concerned?
It's a serious concern. Just last night I was reading through the Global Organized Crime Index, and Fiji stands at 148th of 193 countries. There are criminal actors in Fiji. I could read you this. They organize crimes in Fiji. And these are serious crimes. I have a security background. I'm concerned about the security of our nation, of our people, We need to be safe. We need to review our visa policies. There are more than 132 countries that can come into Fiji without visas. Fiji is in the center, of a transit point to the US, and that's why it can be used. The autobiography, our islands, it's easy. Now, do we have the intelligence to counter this? It's a serious problem, and it's every day in the news. The drugs, the new drugs that's coming in, the meth. See what it has led to: gang fights. Now, human trafficking maybe, but it's been identified in these reports, and it needs to be looked at. To solve that, how do we solve this? It's not solved by building more police stations and not building more prisons.
What's your answer? What will you do?
It will lead back to what I was saying, to empowering the Vanua because of the resource. Because if you look at the prison records, it's the Itauke who's doing this. We need to move them back to the resource, right? We need to guide them back, settle them down, give them a produce to grow. There's a market there. Look at laws surrounding our loitering in towns. What about our nightclubs? What about the sale of alcohol? In Dubai, you are given a card calculated from your income. Then they'll give you a quota to drink in the year. So as you go and consume, you swipe that card and you're using your quota, right? Why can't we do that here?
You want a system based on that? A limit on how much you can drink in Fiji?
Why not?
Do you think the young people will subscribe to that?
It's the responsibility of the government to put in place laws to look after the whole interest of the nation and not only a few. Of course, yes, but consultation process needs to go through a roundtable discussion from different stakeholders, from the Vanua, the different sectors. What about corporal punishment? Kids, we look at our kids today, we see the problem. We need to find the solution. And that is the role of a government.
What is your view on corporal punishment?
Everything.
It's not constitutional according to our constitution.
Agree. But see, this is where our Vanua governance system is very important. Because in our governance structure, it is a round table system. We are always consult, and we come to a consensus. Right now, we could say it's a dictatorship or democracy? What do you think? Everything has been enforced.
I'm asking you the question.
Now, for any question...
You are wanting to lead the country, not me. I'm asking you the question again, back to corporal punishment.
Right.
What's your stand on it?
Now, for that answer, bring the Vanua. We've structured the Vanua. Bring them up. For me, as a government, I would raise an issue up with the Vanua. I'll say, okay, according to stats that I have from the DPP, the Women's Crisis Center, the highest rate of rape is happening in your area, in the Vanua, in the villages. Now, come to the table. Give us a solution. We want you to be accountable. We want you to be responsible. Use your governance system and structure that is already there. Find a solution. Now, what if they suggest we want corporal punishment? Okay, let's look at our laws. Let's consult. Can't we agree to a term of 24 months? Let's try it out. If you can, the Vanua can prove to the government, to the people, that corporal punishment has worked and the data show that it's decreasing, we have an argument to the United Nations.
So what type of corporal punishment would that be?
Well, it's up to the round table discussion. It's all about consultation.
You are not giving me a clear answer. You're saying...
Because I'm not a dictator.
So...
I'm not a dictator. Everything has to come around a round table.
But you're open to that suggestion?
Yes, of course. If it's the people's wish, if it's raised by an organization or the people, if the data supports their argument, we need to find a solution for it.
Mr. Tiko, do you have any plans for people like George Speight, who is serving a life sentence for treason? These issues have come up in Parliament as well in the past.
Right.
For his release. The government has made it clear, life means life. Can you please reveal if you do go into a government, if you hold balance of power and form government, what are your plans for people like George Speight and others?
Well, the system is there. You have the Mercy Commission. There is a commission that looks into the applications of life members in prison when they request, right? The system is there. The structure is there. Empower the system. Put in the right people in the system. Make the system work. It's not up to me.
You're telling me the system. I know the system.
Yes.
I'm asking you about him in particular.
Not only him. What about the others who've been there before him? What about others who've just come in, who qualify to be heard?
Well, some people are asking the question because of your links,
Right?
and because of 2000, the events.
To
of
be
2000.
honest, Vijay, I will not favor anyone, not even George Speight. Right? The law must be held up in this country. And these compromises are the things that destroy this nation. We have compromised so much. Style. Right? If we put a law in place, go by the law. You commit a crime, you serve the time. Go through the system. As for me personally, follow the system. I will not allow myself to compromise with the values I have that the party stands for in governance. Because one is there, truth. Right? I stand for this party and its principles. And I will have to live by it because the Constitution in itself, in chapter 13, the termination of a member, if I step out of line, I'm terminated. So I need to live by the principles of the party. And this is the beautiful thing about New Generation Party.
Thank you. Mr. Varinava Tiko, do you believe you will make the 5% threshold?
Of course. More than the threshold.
You've done your numbers.
Yes.
Have you spoken to any parties to work with? And are they willing to work with you?
Well, we've made an attempt with Sodalpa. They are not willing. They've cancelled the MOU with Unity. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. We'll look at our numbers first. We'll look at the number of seats that we have qualified. I am open for any collision as long as I go where the people want me to go. I look at the votes. What do the people want? What party have the people chosen? Right? We want to support the people's wishes. That is my answer.
My last question, and of course it's a clarification. When you started, you said your full name.
Yes.
And you said this is how the name is likely to appear on a ballot paper. I'd like to clarify for the voters, you will not see any names on a ballot paper.
Oh, sorry.
You will only see numbers. Candidate numbers will be the only things on your ballot paper. So you've got to ensure that you know your number, because according to Fiji's electoral system, our ballot paper right now, according to the Electoral Act, will only have a candidate's number, and the candidate ball draw will be held on November 18th, and that's when the number will be confirmed. Of course, there will be a candidate's list which will have the person's name with a photo and the number.
Yes.
So, asking you the question about some of these laws, numbers on ballot papers, women having to change their name. Because the new law that has come in about birth certificates, you can only have your name that's on the birth certificate. If you want to have your married name, then you have to go and put an asterisk on your own birth certificate and have your husband's surname, and you can take that, and that can be, you definitely know the law, then you will be identified. Are you going to change those things, or do you believe these are good things and should stay on?
There's a reason why this government did that. Maybe because of the softwares they have. Times have changed. We need to evolve with time. We want the best for the people, whether we talk about the voting system or the names, the system, the linking of systems within government departments, they have their reason. And I thank the FEO, the Fiji Elections Office, for great work that they've done. They've done so much. They've done awareness, they've given extra time for registration. I cannot really say what I would do to change, but there's a reason. We need to go in and study the reason. If it's the best, then why not? But if there's something else to improve, then let's discuss and talk about and consult with the people. What is best for the people? What is easy for the people?
So you will leave that option open
Yes.
to the people.
Yes.
That's Varinava Tiko, the acting leader of New Generation Party, our first guest on Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Thank you, Mr. Tiko, for making yourself available and allowing yourself to be held accountable for things that you have done in the past, and also making it very clear how you will be looking at things. And it's at the end of the day, it's for the people to decide. If you put yourself in front of the people and want to be voted for by the people, of course, accountability is one of the critical issues. So
Yes.
thank you very much for making yourself available for this.
Thank you very much, Vijay. It's been a privilege talking to you.
And tomorrow night, as I've said, Viliame Avoka, the leader of Sodelpa, right here on Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan, will join you then at 7 tomorrow night.